lecturers.
All right, man, thanks for staying tuned. In case you are just joining us, this is the AM Drive. It comes to you every day of the week from Mondays to Friday. And of course, this is the last edition for this week. Joining us this morning is two great gentlemen from the KW-IRS, as we have told you that it is a series. And of course, this is the fourth day of the series that we will be examining the activities of that service, the KW-IRS. And of course, we are talking about tax enlightenment and the mandate of KW-IRS. So joining us this morning is two great gentlemen, two directors of the service. The first is Shewa Abdullahi, the Director of Legal and Compliance, KW-IRS. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Tosin.
And of course, just sitting beside him is Mohammed Usman, the Director of Income Tax, KW-IRS. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, listeners. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Good morning.
My pleasure.
Eka sir.
Eka
Bosurieto.
Yes,
sir.
All right, so let's go straight to the conversation. So you can join us later on. Of course, we'll put on the phone lines where you'll be able to join the conversations. Don't forget, you can also drop your comments on Facebook at Kwara TV on Facebook. So let me come to you, Mr. Shewa Abdullahi, the Director, Legal and Compliance. We know that we have been discussing tax enlightenment and the mandate of KW-IRS. So again, let's revisit. What is the core mandate of KW-IRS? Because we were chatting, off air that you are the representative of government in making sure that you collect taxes. Is this just the main mandate of the KW-IRS? What are your mandates again?
Oh, thank you very much. Talking about mandate of KW-IRS, I will say that our mandate is statutory. And when you have a statutory mandate, you are under obligation to discharge it effectively and in accordance with the provisions of that statute. Yes,
so there's a law backing.
There's a law backing our mandate, and that's why we cannot compromise our mandate by any standard. The mandate is simple. Before KW-IRS, there has been tax agency in Kwara State. And because of some challenges noticed in that board of Internal Revenue Service, the state government deemed it fit to create KW-IRS. One, to resolve some of those issues and challenges. And the only way you can resolve challenges and make it sustainable is to back it with law. And that's why Kwara State government enacted what is being called Kwara State Revenue Administration Law 2015. I know, talking from experience, commercial activities are always ahead of law. If you create a law today, you cannot know the challenges in that law unless you put it to practice. When that law was enacted in 2015 and started rolling, I tell you, not more than a year, we still noticed some lacuna in that law, and that gave birth to 2016 Amendment Act. So in that act, our mandate is defined and refined. Because of what I refer to as challenges by previous management, it now makes it clear that in this establishment, your mandate is solely collection of taxes and levies. Because hitherto, under the previous administration, they also involve in governance. They execute projects. And you don't have business spending government money as an agency of tax. So our mandate first is to ensure that we capture revenues from all legitimate sources for the strategic development of the state. That is one. We also have a mandate towards the taxpayers. Taxpayers should be treated fairly. Taxpayers should be respected, just like customers. And the only way we can show that respect to taxpayers is to give them fair assessment of their collection. Giving them fair assessment also entails giving them a convenience way of paying that taxes. That's why we entertain installment payment from taxpayers. We also give some discounts. So the mandate is both to the government and to taxpayers.
All right, I'll still come back to Mr. Shiwabilai. So there's this popular saying, Mr. Mohammed Usman, that customers are always right. In case of taxpayers, can I be right? Can I argue my point when I have issues with your service?
Well, also having a private sector background, I'm so used to that adage that says customer is not always right. But we also know customers are not always right. So that is just by the way. But what we say exactly is that you always have that privilege, that opportunity. The law allows you to bring up your cases forward. And then, of course, whatever we do, they are based on facts. We don't base our assessments or because we do from assumptions. They are based on the reality of ground. So when we give you an assessment, it's based on what maybe we have gathered from our intelligence, from our investigation. And then the onus now lies on you as a taxpayer. If you now say, okay, this is what you're supposed to pay, it now lies on you to now say, okay, you of course, first and foremost, you have the right to object. An objection. So you can do your objection. At the point of objection, we invite you for a discussion, reconciliation discussion to let us know, okay, what are the basis of you objecting to whatever we have given to you. So in that way, I think we give everybody a fair hearing. The stand to be able to lay your case, and at the end of the day, when we sit down during the reconciliation meeting, we'll be able to prove to you with what we have that this is what your established liability is and what you're supposed to pay. And just like he said, if it is not convenient for you to pay at once, we are also, fair enough to say, okay, give us, a payment plan. What do you pay immediately, and how are you planning to offset the balance of whatever you're paying? So customers are always right, and taxpayers are always right.
I'd like to go back to Mr. Shehu Abdullahi, the Director Legal and Compliance. Now, you talked about the amendment of the Act in 2016 due to the challenges identified in the previous years. Now, the Act has been amended. Are you saying there are no challenges, especially when it comes to compliance?
Okay, thank you very much. I said if you put a legislation on this table for 30 years, if you do not operate it, you won't notice those challenges. Yeah. For example, Complaints and Allied Matters Act 1990 was run for 30 years before it was amended in 2020. So, after the 2016 amendment, commercial activities has a lot of derivatives and challenges. The law was also amended in 2017. Okay. And as we speak to you, we have some amendments still pending before the House of Assembly. And that is commerce for you. Innovative activities come. People try to derive or devise means of circumventing processes. Like he said, you have the right of objection was recognized in the parent law. But when we discovered that people just say, I hereby object to the tax, that does not speak anything. You must prefer reasonable and justifiable ground of objection. You must give us facts. You must be scientific in your objection. You must be empirical. So what we give you is platform for fair hearing. So if you don't use that platform, you cannot say we don't give you fair hearing. So amendment will continue to come to any law, not only our law, as long as you continue to operate that law.
So what are the processes of having that fair hearing? Now, if I'm objecting to the amount of money you're asking me to pay, so what are the processes for me to, get a fair hearing?
Okay. Just like a normal court of law, if you have issue in law, in court, you are entitled to defend your own case if you can.
Okay.
Then the second option is that you can be represented by a legal practitioner to argue your case in court. Also,
it has to get to court?
Yes. So with us also.
So it's not something that we can discuss on the round table?
It depends on the mindset of the taxpayer. Some taxpayer comes with a mindset, they have a fixation that this is what I will pay and final. So if you come with that kind of mindset, I can assure you will get to court. But if you come with a mindset of settlement, for example, you write your objection, you tell us that this is what you got, this is what the exemptions are, these are the difficulties the business have been facing, so this is why we cannot do this. So be it. You can do this on your own. You can engage a legal practitioner. You can engage an accountant, tax practitioners. Any other professional can do it for you. I only advise that while engaging such professionals, ensure that the professionals you are engaging are also tax compliant. Because if you are coming to equity, you must come with clean hands. That's what they say.
All right, we have more questions, but let's go to our languages first.
Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò mo ṣe kí yín lẹ́ẹ̀kan Mr. Abdullahi Mr. Shehu Abdullahi àti Mr. Muhammad Uthman ẹ káàbọ̀. Màá bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ yín Mr. Shehu Abdullahi tí ẹ jẹ́ olùdarí fún ètò òfin àti bí a ṣe ń tẹ̀lé àwọn òfin ní lórí owó orí sísan. Kí ni àwọn nǹkan tó jẹ́ kókó nínú àwọn iṣẹ́ tí ẹ̀ ń ṣe tẹ́gbé lọ́wọ́ yìí?
Kókó alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ ni láti jẹ́ kí gbogbo àwọn tó bá ń gbé olùgbé Kwara kí wọ́n gba ayé rọrùn. Láti kókó alákọ̀ọ́kọ́. And you see, nígbà tí lè gbé ayé rọrùn ni pé kí ìjọba ó lè ṣe àwọn nǹkan tó fẹ́ ṣe. Ìjọba òde lè operate. I have a friend that says, wọ́n lẹ́rọ ẹ̀kan tó sọ pé òun ò lè function láìsí owó. Government náà ò lè function láìsí owó.
Kò sí èyí tó lè function láìsí owó.
Àyè náà ò lè function láìsí owó. So meaning that the first duty that I can call ni pé bó la ṣe máa rí owó lọ́nà ẹ̀tọ́. Then láì kó wàhálà bá àwọn aráàlú. Because aráàlú ò ní point àti san tax tí ò bá ní owó ọ̀nà tó mú wọn. Bẹ̀tẹ̀ bá rí pé nìyí nǹkan tó ń rí nǹkan tó fi sọ pé o gbọ́dọ̀ mọ́ mú as tax. So ara àwọn ẹ̀tọ́ wa ni pé ká make sure pé a mú owó lọ́tọ̀dọ̀ àwọn tó yẹ kó san tax fún ìjọba. Ìjọba náà lè fi rí gbogbo ìlérí tí wọ́n ṣe fáwọn aráàlú. Wọ́n fi lè rí sára àwọn ilé tó yẹ kẹsẹ̀ ni pé àwọn gbọ́dọ̀ provide security fáwọn aráàlú. Wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ provide gbogbo nǹkan amáyérọrùn fún wọn, iná, omi àti ọ̀nà tó dára. So ìjọba lè rí àwọn kìíní ìṣèlérí owó tó wọ́n látòkè nìkan àfikún tá a bá náà bá gbà fún wọn gẹ́gẹ́ bí owó orí lábẹ́lé. So àwọn kókó tá a nínú
ẹ̀. Mr. Muhammad Uthman ẹ jẹ́ kí n bọ́ sọ́dọ̀ tí àwọn olóyìnbó wọn máa ń sọ wípé customers are always right. Ètò Yorùbá sọ pé èmi ni mo fẹ́ san, èmi ni mo fẹ́ mú fún yín lówó, mo ní ẹ̀tọ́ mi láti sọ pé iye báyìí mo fẹ́ san. Ǹjẹ́ tí ẹ bá gẹ́gẹ́ bí mi ṣe jókòó yìí bóyá mo ní òwò kan tí mo ń ṣe àbí company kan ni mo ní àbí iléeṣẹ́ kan ẹ wá mú iye tó yẹ kí n san wá fún mi ní owó orí, ṣé mo ní ẹ̀tọ́ àti sọ láti tí mo bá rí i pé nǹkan tó yẹ kí n san nǹkan tẹ́ fún mi yìí ti pọ̀ jù, mo lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ láti sọ fún yín pé nǹkan tẹ́ fún mi yìí ti pọ̀ jù? Àbí mo ní láti gbà bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni?
Ẹ ṣe mọ̀ òfin gbà láàyè as pé tí a bá yẹ taxpayer láti tọ́lá fún yín láti wá bá wa lọ́gbọ́n ọ́fíìsì wa pé kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀, àyè wà tá à ń pè ní objection. Ẹni object sí whatever tá a bá fún yín pé kẹsàn and process ẹ̀ ni pé ó ní bó ṣe rí. Ẹ lè first of all a bá fẹ́ kí wọ́n formalize nǹkan tó bá ń ṣe because lẹ́tà tá a fún yín náà a kọ síwèé ni so máa first of all máa dákẹ́ yín náà kọ síwèé pé tán kó tá a kọ fún yín yìí o ògbẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ ló ṣe rí ẹ̀dẹ̀ máa address ẹ̀ sí executive chairman tẹ́ bá right báyìí pé tán pẹ̀lú reason tẹ̀jẹ̀ fi pé owó yẹn ti pọ̀ jù and then of course ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ state èyí tẹ́ fi pé ẹ̀yọ̀ kẹ́ san and at that point in time wọ́n sọ pé tẹ́ bá pípé ẹ̀yọ̀ kẹ́ san ni bó ṣe ń kọ lẹ́tà yẹn kọ́kọ́ san owó tí ẹ fi pé ẹ̀kẹ́ jẹ ẹ fi pé ẹ jẹ ẹ kọ́kọ́ san yẹn náà lè wá right pé ok kò yẹ kó rí báyìí wá dọ̀dọ̀ wa a máa wò fínífíní a máa dé level tẹ̀ka máa pè é náà wá kí ni àwọn èrè kí ni evidence ẹ fi pé kò rí báyìí adéjọ́ jókòó.
So tí mo bá ń kọ lẹ́tà yẹn bọ̀ ẹ fún mi ní iye kan sí mo wá rí i pé kò yẹ kí n san tó bẹ́ẹ̀ so tí mo bá ń kọ lẹ́tà kò yẹ kí n san tó bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn bọ̀ màá wá fi iye tí èmi rò pé yẹ kí n san yẹn tẹ̀lé so àṣẹ wa máa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí eléyìí
tó kù bẹ́ẹ̀ bó ṣe kọ́ nìyẹn.
Okay.
All right. Let's move forward. It seems that whatever the money just has to come to
money has to be paid.
We have just said it. All of us need money. The government needs money to run its operations. There's no just another way around it. We all clamor for good things of life. I used to say it. I was in a program yesterday, and they nearly crucified me yesterday. I was in a group of taxpayers. And the whole issue is why do we have to pay tax? And I told them accurately, I enumerated all the reasons why they must pay taxes. And of course, some of those taxes I actually had to break it down. What is direct and what is indirect? There are some I'm not teaching people how to avoid tax. But there are some that if you don't go into them, you don't have to pay those taxes. But there are some like part of your personal income tax. As long as you are paying, you are receiving income, you must pay your personal income tax.
So you have used the word taxes, and I'm very inquisitive. I must pay income tax, I must pay land charge, I must pay tenement rate, I must pay signage fee, I must pay trade permit. All this in one business, ABBA, KW-IRS. What's going on?
It's not KW-IRS, it's not getting twisted. We are just an agency. You see, whatever taxation is an act. It's even in the constitution. It's a constitutional thing that you must pay your taxes. And we just happen to be an agency saddled with that responsibility to do that on behalf of the people.
So are these not double taxation?
They are not
land charge, tenement rate, signage fee.
Okay, good.
Income tax.
Okay, let's talk about the incidence of the tax on the taxpayer. That's what you're trying to say, and that's what you're saying is double taxation. We have been, every day, whatever we do, we try to avoid double taxation. What you have enumerated out now is not double taxation, it's multiple taxation, and it's allowed by the national tax policy. The national tax policy has spelled out all the agencies and the various taxes they are supposed to collect. Now, let's talk about personal income tax. It has to do with you personally.
The income you're earning?
Yes, income you're earning. Now, if you decide to hold a property, you buy a land to start with, the Land Act says the land does not really, the ownership of that land does not even vested in you, invested in the government. So, and of course the government is the landlord, and anybody that is a tenant must pay rent to the landlord. So if you don't hold a property, you won't have to pay land charge. So if you have a property, you of course have to now pay the land charge. Now, if you now decide again to go another step forward to say you want to use that property for business, then of course you must register your business, because there are agencies of government that must monitor and ensure that you keep to the standard. And running this service, you must pay something. So if you don't go into that business, for that premises, you won't have to pay for the registration of your business. Now, if you now assume you now have a business, you now want to put a signage out there. The law also says it's up to you. You have to. It depends on what you want to do. If you decide to not advertise, you have to pay for it. So what you just have to do is to look at the tax system, look at the administration, and then as a person, as a business person, you now have to also work smart. What works for you? So, but in all this, we must not lose conscious of the fact that for whatever reason, we've also said it as individual, we also need money to survive. Government needs money to survive. And whatever, all these things we have enumerated, these various taxes, rates, and levies, they are all backed by law. And every time we sit together at the national level with JTB, state level, we have Joint Revenue Committee. We continuously look at all these policies and look at the ones, that we can eliminate, the ones we can reduce. So we constantly do that. And of course, to have had the privilege to sit down and look at these so-called rates in all these different, taxes you have seen, the rates, and we've looked at what other states are charging. We started with the neighboring states, we look at us nationwide. And I must tell you, our rates are one of the lowest.
Very competitive.
Honestly, I'm sorry, if I had my way, I would have more than doubled these rates. Because they are so, those rates are so, what I was saying. But of course, I can't do that because the government has also given us a mandate not to increase any rates. The mandate is for us to increase the tax rates. Yes.
But does KW-IRS have a say in this rate of the local governments, in the signage fee, the so and so fee? Does KW-IRS have a say at all in monitoring the rates these people charge? But you're pushing it to yourself, but I want to start.
You're
looking at each other's faces.
You're not pushing it. Why he was looking at me is that he knows I relate more with these local government people. And as you speak, there are several issues. That if not because, not to heat up the politics, you'll have seen us engage some of these local government authorities in some. You see, there's no need to have friction with them.
Yeah.
Because whenever a statute defines something, statute defines responsibilities, statutes allocates your powers and objectives. So there shouldn't be need to cross and crisscrossing. But what we have noticed in recent time is that maybe because of the people engaged by local government to do their work for them, Like for us, we engage consultants that are highly experienced in taxation.
Okay.
We don't just engage staff. Let me put it that way. We don't engage staff with us. But most of these people that undertake collection for local governments, apology to them, the way they execute their mandate is unbecoming. We have several times come to settle some fractions between them and taxpayers. Like I told you previously, that we used to have a committee, Kwara State Joint Revenue Committee, recognized by our statute. That what the purpose of that committee basically is to harmonize collection of taxes between state government and local government, and to ensure that we achieve that purpose on a quarterly basis. We meet with them. In fact, in another meeting they due now, they've been calling me that I should convene that meeting. So we try to, should I say, educate, if it's not ridiculed them, that these are your limits, these are your powers.
And it's backed by law.
It's backed by law. Like I said, I referred to a particular legislation that time, approved list of collections, 2015 schedule of taxes. That document is handy. At a meeting, I had to go and do copies of those laws and circulate to all the taxi chairmen.
Maybe they're not happy about the way
We are not the one that we are not the author of that law. It is a federal law, and it defines each local government, state government, federal government. So if you are not happy, they know what to do. They have algo. They can sponsor a bill, they can do lobby, they can do advocacy. But as long as, no matter how stupid you consider a legislation, it must be paid until it is amended. So that is the issue.
And in addition to that, in trying to ensure we are on the same page, recently we even called, we did a training for all the revenue officers in the local government. We had to put them together, discuss the approved revenue lines, and the need for us not to tax, to avoid double taxation. Because we've seen situations whereby some things that we're collecting, they are using another name to collect it. You understand? Like when we collect personal income tax from Okada riders, you see another local government cutting market tickets for Okada riders. This is crazy.
And it's still home.
Yeah, so we're still engaged. Even as at this, but that was why I had to look at it, because before we came into the studio, we were discussing some local governments where we have issues. You understand? So we will continue to engage them and continue to do our bit to ensure, because of course, you know, to an extent they have their autonomy to an extent, but of course too, their autonomy does not give them right to go against what the law states, whatever the federal law says. So we'll continue to engage them and ensure that the taxpayers are protected.
And also because we have a duty to enlighten the public. Initially, before the establishment of Kwara State Geographical Information Service, the former Bureau of Land, this land charge, you say, is a collection of the state government. But if you ask me, most local governments have been collecting it for decades. And we told them at the last JRC meeting, I was practically put on the hit by the executive chairman that I should explain the provision of that law to what the local government charge, which I did. That you are not entitled to collect land charge. And you know what? Just like the director says, they will find a way of collecting or renaming it. And you can only collect a tax as named by law. You cannot say if a law says a particular name of tax is Tosin, and the state government is collecting Tosin as a revenue line, you cannot go and now turn it to Adamu.
So are you saying that these tickets, you know, we see them even on our roads here, in the state capital here, in
the market.
The ticket that the Okada riders, you know.
No, for the central, there's no problem.
No problem in the
We are the
central.
ones in
No
charge.
problem.
You are the ones in
Yes,
charge.
No problem.
And of course, we harmonize it with the local government, because they also have a parking levy that's supposed to and we want to collect personal income tax. So we now use the ticketing model to collect at once, so that we don't come, they don't come. It's part of the harmonization. So we have an MOU where we agreed on the sharing ratio. So that's what you're saying is a joint thing between the local government and the central. The centrals, they are absolutely, I don't have issues.
Thank you very much.
Local government.
I'm sure you are from
Why
the
do you separate that on a daily basis? Because most times you see these Okadas trying to avoid them and trying to, you know, almost cause an accident sometimes. Now, it's on a daily.
Why are you collecting daily basis? Why do you think that they make income daily?
I've explained to you in one of the episodes that we use presumptive tax regime for them because they don't have a formal record, and because if you tell them, most of them you can't say pay 1.5 I think go.
No.
They will go away. So those ticketing 20 naira,
15 naira.
15 naira. Okay.
So ẹ jẹ́ kí n bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ yín Mr. Muhammad Uthman.
Yorùbá I'm a Nupe man. Let him speak.
Nupe man.
Let him speak Yorùbá.
Tí a bá wò mo ralẹ̀ mo kọ́lé iṣẹ́ sórí ẹ̀ mo wá ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ yẹn máa sanwó ilẹ̀ tí mo rà land charges máa sanwó tí bá ti kọ́lé iṣẹ́ yẹn tán máa san income tax of nǹkan tí mò ń pa lórí iléeṣẹ́ yẹn tó iléeṣẹ́ tí mo wá kọ́ o bóyá ó tiẹ̀ súnmọ́ nù mo tún wá fẹ́ káwọn èèyàn mọ̀ pé tó nǹkan báyìí wà níbí báyìí o mo gbé signboard mi síta máa tún sanwó lórí yẹn ó ti di tax ìpele mélòó tí mo ń san lórí iléeṣẹ́ ẹyọ kan.
He speaks Yoruba French more than he does French. I don't know the listeners to start laughing.
Let's have
That's all right. Thank you very much. Ilẹ̀ tẹ́ lẹ́ra mo tẹ́ lẹ́ra mo fi sí torí ẹ̀yin ò lè ra lẹ̀ so náà lè fi ń sanwó fún ìjọba.
Tí mi bá lè ra lẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ kó yé àwọn ará lé báwo ló ṣe wá lè jẹ́ pé mo sanwó.
Tẹ́ bá ra mọ́tò nísìnyí tẹ̀sán fún mọ́tò lẹ́ẹ̀kan náà kò tún kẹ́ máa mú owó kan wá lọ́dọọdún ẹ̀rà yìí hùn but because land use act sọ pé ilẹ̀ tìjọba ni so gbogbo ẹni tó bá lóhùn ra lẹ̀ in quote ó mẹ́ pé
ẹni tó ní mọ́tò yẹn náà òun náà ló ní ìgbà yẹn ìgbà tí mo rà á lóhùn fún mi.
no ṣé tó bá ti ra mọ́tò tẹ̀sán owó ẹ̀kan lẹ́ẹ̀kan ó gbàtẹ́ lẹ́ẹ̀ ra lẹ̀ ẹ̀kan náà lẹ̀ sanwó fẹ́ni tó ní ló fi ṣèwé fún yín àbí ẹ̀kọ́ bàtẹ́ bá ra mọ́tò lọ́dọ̀ mọ́tò náà tó bá sanwó fún yín receipt ẹ̀kan náà ni lẹ́yìn ìgbà yẹn sọ pé kò ní máa pé kẹ́ mọ́ kankan wá mọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ìjọba tó péjọba ló nílẹ̀ tẹ́ bá ti kọ́kọ́ ra tẹ́ sanwó àkọ́kọ́ tán yẹn tẹ́ bá mọ wo agreement táwọn lọ́ọ̀yà máa ń ṣe fún yín ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ kì í akàn sign there is clause kan wà bẹ́ẹ̀ tó sọ pé subject to the consent of the governor so meaning that title does not pass title does not migrate to you unless the government consents so and I can say mo sì lè sọ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni
tíjọba
so tẹ́bá tí wọ́n lè ra lẹ̀ kọ́lé iṣẹ́ sí ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣe iléeṣẹ́ yẹn ń tajà ní arajà ní ẹ máa san láǹjà lọ́dọọdún fún ìjọba iléeṣẹ́ tẹ̀ ń ṣe náà ẹ ṣe charity ẹ̀ ń ta nǹkan ní èrè tẹ̀ ń rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ máa san personal income tax ẹlẹ́ wà nínú kọ̀rọ̀ gbẹ̀tọ́rí pé wà nínú kọ̀rọ̀ ẹ fẹ́ polówó àwọn ayé so ẹ ṣe signboard owó sínéèjì yẹn náà ẹ máa san fún ìjọba because it's optional ẹ lẹ́ fìlì pé ẹ fẹ́ káyọ̀ mọ̀ mí.
Bọ̀ tán bá mọ̀ mí mi ò ní pawó tí màá fi san owó tax.
Advantage ká mọ̀ mí tẹ̀ ṣe yẹn because you see ìdí tó wà fún signage ni pé ẹ ń bá àwọn ayé sọ̀rọ̀ pẹ̀lú àkọlé yẹn so ẹ communicate ayé.
Ẹ̀mí mo ṣe nǹkan mi síbẹ̀.
Ó yé mi ṣé ó yé yín náà pé ẹ lè máa assert sensibility wọn by the language of the signage. It depends on what you put in the signage. So owó pé ẹ̀ ń polú ara ẹ fáyé tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ kó jẹ́ pé àdúgbò yín nìkan lẹ̀ tí ń ta ẹ fẹ́ kí wọ́n mọ ìlú mọ̀míká tẹ́ fẹ́ jẹ́ so ẹ sanwó ìlú mọ̀míká fún ìjọba. So àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ tẹ́ ìgbà tẹ́ ń sanwó fún náà àwọn náà máa san owó orí lérí tí wọ́n ń gbà. So ẹ rí i pé eríkèéríkèé ni kì í ṣe pé eré nǹkan ṣoṣo ni kò sówó orí tá a gbà tí ó rọ̀ mọ́ kinní kan.
Gbogbo ẹ̀ yìí náà lé ní èjì ẹ̀ta bá ṣe ń ka ẹ̀ lórí iṣẹ́ ẹyọ kan ṣoṣo yìí náà ni ṣé kò tí ì di double taxation gasa lórí ìjọba.
mo sọ fún yín ẹ lè kọ́lé kẹsì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣiṣẹ́ kẹsì má fi nǹkan kan sí tẹ́bà ti fi sánéjì sí ẹni sanwó sánéjì ẹ sì lè kọ́lé sí kalẹ̀ kẹra equipment kẹmọ́ gbàyàn ṣiṣẹ́ tẹ́bà ti gbàyàn ṣiṣẹ́ tó kọ̀ wà bẹ̀ gbọ́n gidi ẹni san kankan.
mi ò ní san tax ìjọba yẹn
ẹni tẹ́kẹ̀ mọ́ sọ ní land charge ní kẹsà kọ́lé sílẹ̀ tilẹ̀kùn mọ́.
àwọn tá mo fi sọ land charges àti owó equipment tààrà síbẹ̀ yẹn bó ní ó ti wá wá.
náà lọ fi áfà tẹ́ fi gbàyàn síbẹ̀ tẹ́sí fi polo sí ìlú mọ̀mẹ́ká bó ti rí nù.
And one of the, of course, another reason is you are looking at business. One of the functions of taxation is also the distribution of wealth. You are making money, it shouldn't just be only for you. Part of those wealth in various ways should also come back to the government. The government can use that fund to help others. Yes, provide infrastructural facilities. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm with more on
formal sector. You are not done. Okay. Go ahead.
Tí a bá wò a rí pé ní àwọn local government wa wọ́n máa ní àwọn owó kan tó máa ń gbà lọ́wọ́ wa pàápàá jùlọ nínú ọjà tẹ́ bá ti fẹ́ gbọ́kọ̀ wọlé gan ẹ máa tún san àwọn tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì kan wọ́n máa ní owó tẹ́ fẹ́ fi park àti tẹ́ bá débi tẹ́ máa park sí wọ́n máa kọ́ síbẹ̀ park at owner's risk car park at owner's risk gbogbo àwọn owó orí yìí ṣé kò tó sì jẹ́ pé àwọn míì náà wà tó yẹ pé a ti ń san irú ẹ̀ míì fún ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ fún ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ táwọn ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ náà tún gbà ó ti ń dọ̀nà méjì ṣé kò sí bí ẹ̀yin àjọ yín bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe lè gé wọn lọ́wọ́ àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe lè mójútó wọn.
ẹ̀yin náà sọ nísìn ẹni ká gé wọn lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ mo dẹ̀ sọ fún yín tẹ́lẹ̀ pé local government ò máa gba owó kankan tí ìbá ti kó òfin lórí kan máa gbà so òfin ló wà lọ́ọ̀ tí wọn pé àní kan máa gba car park kìnìún yẹn ẹ wá sọ pé débi tẹ́ ti fẹ́ park wọ́n tó kọ
car park at owner's risk
is another thing you see ẹnìkan lè wá lọ́jà bẹ́ẹ̀ fẹ́ lọ ra kí mo fẹ́ sọ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ra gold lọ́jà ẹ wá park wọn á ní car parks at owner's risk at the point of parking ẹ ti parí owó receipt yín ẹ ti ní space for parking so it now say who holds you the duty of care after that parking ta lè mú fún negligence breach of negligence ẹ tẹ́ ń lọ bá tó bá yẹ pé òun ló lẹ́ ń lọ bá kẹ̀dẹ̀ jẹ́ kó mọ̀ pé ẹ ní ẹ park car síbẹ̀ so it now has a duty to look after all the customer tó bá bóun wá ó hùn wọn ní duty of care nìyẹn so ṣe báyìí so bẹ́ẹ̀ tẹ́ ẹ bá ti ní ẹnìkan tó hùn yín ní duty of care against you or your properties then your cars are parked at owner's risk even if tẹ́ bá lọ sí ilé iṣẹ́ mi nísìnyí tẹ́ bá fẹ́ wọ gate wọn tó máa fún yín tag tó bá fún yín ní tag so ṣe báyìí ẹ ti ń kó attention wọn ni pé ẹ ní mọ́tò ń bẹ so ṣe báyìí so tagging yẹn ó ti transfer duty of care on there to look after your car because the essence that when you want to go out that tagging system only to complete it so it's a different thing provision of car parking is for local government but duty of care is another thing.
ní àwọn ibi tó wá jẹ́ pé irú owó kan náà tá à ń san fún ìjọba that is fún KW-IRS òun náà ni a tún san fún àwọn kan ní local government nǹkan.
irú èwo ni
àwọn ó ní àwọn local government KW-IRS ń gbowó lẹ́sìn ó ní àwọn like local government tèmi ti wá ó láwọn ilẹ̀ kan tó jẹ́ pé local government ló ń gba owó yẹn.
that is ó yé mi báyìí so my under the Land Use Act you see if you buy land option láti gba R04 or C04 is yours so if you now choose to collect right of occupancy local government might issue a fine. You only have a right to occupy the so but if you go further and you collect C04 certificate of occupancy mean that you want a certificate for right standing so that's the difference so state government sanwó yẹn rí so the R04 title lies with the local government ẹ máa repeat local government bá ṣe allocation of land wọ́n máa ṣe R of normal issue they will never issue C04 but any right lórí ilẹ̀ ẹni they call it right wọ́n sọ pé title just right to occupy it pending.
Let me come to Mr. Usman Mohammed, the Director Income Tax of KW-IRS. Now, let's move to the formal sector. Now, my tax is deducted straight from source. You know, so basically, I don't really have to come to you to pay for it. It has been deducted from source. Now, how can I be assured that my money is remitted to the coffers of the government?
Exactly. You are so much interested in the formal sector.
Yeah.
Because they don't have, they don't have side hustles.
Yes, and of course, too, the informal sector, which is the unregulated part of the economy, is the biggest part. It is what drives the economy. They are a very important sector in every, everything you look at, any economy you look at. And of course, at KW-IRS, we have seen that importance, and that's why we have a whole department of 3 units, monitoring the informal sector. And of course, those units and department reports directly to me. And of course, too, we have a process in place to ensure that we efficiently cover most of these sectors in the informal sector, and then breaking them down to different segments. And then, of course, we try to, as much as possible, using the best practice to work with their various associations. It's part of the things we do. We work with all the associations to ensure we capture most of their members. We do the collections through their members. So for those we collect through the members, of course, when they come especially for their meetings, weekly meetings, monthly meetings, we have the names, they tell us what they will collect. And right there and then, our staff that have been attached to all these different associations issue out those receipts. I've attended some of those meetings, we give them their receipts. And for those who don't capture through their association that we have to go out to the field, we have a system in place. Our receipts, there are security documents that we don't joke with. There's a lot of process in the printing of the security receipts. How it goes out. Before they will even give it that, I have to sign.
Okay.
Before even accounts will release it to me, I have to personally to tell you the kind of the highest level to which we put the receipting system in place. So I have to sign before it gets to the HOD. And of course, the HOD, knowing fully well that she has also signed, internal audits will also look at all this process. So we'll give it to our staff. So you should be rest assured when we give you our receipts. You understand? When we collect, and when they go out there to the field and they give you the money, they give you the receipts. And of course, you should be rest assured this money that we're giving you, because it has to come back, the receipt has to come back. It has to be vetted, it has to be audited. We have to ensure whatever has been collected goes into the coffers. But of course, too, we want to, as much as possible, as part of our reform process, to ensure, either we like it or not, to eliminate or to a large extent reduce the handling of cash. We want to go cashless. And either we like it or not, with the reform of that CBN is bringing up next year, either you like it or not, you must embrace e-cash and cashless policy. So we also try as much as possible to encourage people, even if it's a little amount that you're paying, you have various payment channels, you still don't really have to pay in cash. But of course, we can't eliminate that totally, because we have some people that are not really literate enough to use this our platforms, and that's why we provide that other mechanism to them to ensure that if you can't use the platform, you can pay by cash. But please rest assured, there's a policy in place to ensure that whatever you have paid as your tax goes in, and of course you can also go further to ensure that every year you request for your tax clearance certificate.
All right, so we're winding down. At times we're fast spent, and of course we have to go. So can you assure us, Mr. Mohammed Usman, that the state government gets what it belongs to them?
Of course, I will assure you, I believe in our system. We have a very robust system in place. Our tax administration system, we keep improving on it. And whatever goes into the IGR stays in the IGR. Like before we started, people were saying that it's we that collected, that we scaled over that. No, we know. We are just an agency, and most of these funds goes into the IGR account, like we always say. And the IGR account, my executive director, my executive chairman, all the directors, we are not signatories to all these accounts. So what happens is money is collected, it goes to the IGR account. We just account for it. The mandate on how to utilize the funds lies with other agencies, and of course, Ministry of Finance, supervises that on the approval of this SLX. So whatever is paid in goes into the IGR account. We want to assure our taxpayers they should be alive to their responsibilities, they should pay their taxes promptly, and they should be rest assured that using the right channels, avoiding third parties. It's when you use third parties that you have issues. When you do the right thing, money goes into the right channel and goes into the government ports, and government can use the funds to do the development programs.
All right, so thank you very much. We really have to go. Thank you very much for joining us. We want to sincerely join you. Thank you for joining us this morning. We have been speaking with two great gentlemen, the Director of Legal and Compliance, Mr. Shehu Abdullahi from the KW-IRS. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much.
And of course, Mohammed Usman, the Director of Income Tax, KW-IRS. Again, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure having you on the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Mr. Shehu Abdullahi Eku Atutunu Lataro, Mr. Mohammed Usman Eku Atutunu
All right, so we'll wrap up the show, and of course, we'll see you again on Monday when, of course, we'll bring to you fresh editions of the Reform Party.
níbi tí a fi àdàgbà ètò ti òwúrọ̀ ètì a fi ọ̀rọ̀ sí òun náà ní eléyìí púpọ̀ àwa tí à ń sanwó orí ẹ jẹ́ kí a rí i pé ibi tí àrùn owó wa ibẹ̀ ni ó ń lọ fún ìdàgbàsókè ìlú òun náà sì ni àǹfààní tí owó ètì ó ṣe fún wa ọmọ yín ọ̀rẹ́ yín olólùfẹ́ yín Fatima Samanu dágbére pé ayọ̀ àti àlàáfíà òun ni a ó tún máa fi pàdé.
All right, many thanks for being a part of the show all through the week. Of course, the AM Drive will come your way again next week, Monday. Of course, we hope you will make it a date with us. Do enjoy your weekend. My name is Oyinlola Bakari. Goodbye.
All right, continue to watch Kwara State Television, even though we'll go here to celebrate our birthday. What's happy birthday to you? We'll go there to, of course, celebrate our birthday. But you just continue to watch Kwara State Television as we bring you the best program from our 24-hour service. My name is Tosin Adiri, and of course, on behalf of Fatima Ahmed, we'll see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.